Tune on in before I start building on the subject matter for the day. Hopefully everybody having a powerful Sunday morning thus far, man. I'm chopping it up with y'all early, man. I got a little bit of time in the morning, so I'm gonna get it off my chest early. Y'all know what it is, so I'm gonna give everybody a chance to tune on in before we start diving into the subject matter. Got about an hour, little under an hour to get this stuff off my chest, man. So hopefully everybody having a powerful Sunday morning thus far. Hopefully your Saturday evening went good. And here we are today, man. We got some important things to discuss, man. So I'm gonna give y'all a chance. Tune on in before we start building. Mr. Barbados, peace. What's happening? Rayshawn, peace. Shakir, peace. What's the word? How everybody living? How everybody holding up on this Sunday, man? We up and at them early. Early bird gets the worm, they say, man. We putting in work early. We getting to the inspiration early. It's sermon time, as people like to call it. It's sermon time, man. I gotta talk to my people today, man. I gotta talk to the black congregation today. TZ, what's happening, brother? Gotta talk to the black congregation, man. Gotta talk to the black folks today, man. We do a lot of sweeping. We do a lot of neglecting our problems, sweeping things under the rug, and it's time to stop that, man. And I'm here to let y'all know that it's time to stop doing that, man. So how y'all holding up, man? Talk to me real quick before I start venting, because y'all already know how I go when I start going in on certain subjects. This is one of those subjects where I may just go in and get in vent mode, man. So I'm gonna talk to y'all first, though. Mr. Barbados, for sure. We take a lot of things for granted, man. We take a lot of things for granted. Most of the things that we should be appreciating on a daily basis, we don't, and we take them for granted. So we pretty much take all valuable things for granted out here, man. We take a lot of things for granted. Hey, Chanel, peace. What's happening, Queen? Nah, time to can't fall asleep on the job now. We up now. We up and at them. Sweet tea, what's happening? Wisdom, what's happening? What's happening, man? We about to dive in, man. We got a lot of problems in our communities. We got a lot of problems in the households. And a lot of times we sweeping things under the rug, man. We sweep things under the rug. And we wonder why things never get solved in our community, in our household, because, again, we like to run from the problems instead of running to them, running towards them, running through them. We like to run from them. We got to stop doing that in the black community, man. We got a real major habit of running from our problems, sweeping things under the rugs, acting like things are not an issue when they definitely are. This is a big problem in the black community. One of the things that I have noticed, one of the things that I have dealt with, one of the things that I have done myself, especially when it comes to like black men, man, like we are one of the ones that we tend to suppress and hold in a lot of our feelings. And like I've said in previous streams, like that's not the way to go, man. That's how you become self-destructive. And we got a lot of issues that we face that we sweep them under the rug and we write them off. Like, for instance, I'm going to talk about alcoholism, man, just being an alcoholic. How many people that you know that may be within your family, that may be friends of the family that you just know, that has a problem with alcohol? I know a lot of black folks that have an alcohol problem, but a small percentage of these black people that I know with the alcohol problem actually admit to having an alcohol problem. So that's just one of the issues that we face that we sweep under the rug. A lot of people will not admit that they have a problem when it comes to alcohol, when it comes to drinking, when it comes to the liquor. I know plenty of people along those lines. So it's hard for these people to change. It's hard for these people to better themselves when they don't feel like they have a problem in the first place. So we got to stop doing that. Nigel, peace, what's happening? We gotta stop doing that, man. If something is literally destructive, like alcohol, and you drink excessively, then you must admit that that is a problem. That is the only way that you are going to recover. That's the only way that you are going to heal. You have got to first admit that it's a problem in and of itself. And that's one of the situations where we do not like to admit that we have a problem. We start using words like, I'm a social drinker. I'm a functional alcoholic. Like we literally try to justify us being alcoholics. Like that's literally what we strive to do instead of saying, you know what, I'm an alcoholic and I need to do something about it. No, we'll sweep it under the rug. We'll start saying, oh, my job's so stressful. I deserve a drink or two. We start doing things like that instead of saying, you know what, I'm just about to stop drinking. Thunder, what's happening? Like, instead of us admitting that actual problem, we come up with every reason as to why it's okay for us to indulge in drinking the liquor. And that's just one of the problems. But we all know somebody that's an alcoholic. We all know people. We all know people that are alcoholics out here. We all know it. Oh, Chanel, for sure, man, for sure. I see that cycle in a lot of people. I see that cycle continuing within a lot of people around me. And that's why I never gravitated towards the liquor. That's why I never gravitated towards the alcohol, because I seen what it can do. And I'm like, man, why would I don't want to entertain something like that. I don't want to entertain something that I drank and it got me feeling some type of way. I can't remember what happened the next day and I wake up with a headache. Like, I don't aspire to put myself in any type of situation like that. Waking up feeling terrible. Can't remember what happened the next day. How is that fun? How is that cool? How is that good? No, I'm good. I'm good. And a lot of people that I talk to that drink excessively, it's a hard time trying to get them off of that alcohol, man. It's a hard time trying to get them off that alcohol because, like I said, they come up with every excuse in the book as to why it's okay for them to drink. I'm a functional alcoholic. I don't drink that much. But you drinking every day, though. And then when I try to tell you to stop drinking, it's a problem. So that's letting you know that it's an addiction. That's letting you know that it's a problem. Because the moment I try to tell you to lay off of it, you're not able to do it. That's letting you know that it's a problem. And it's holding you back and it's holding you down. But again, we sweep things under the rug. We sweep things under the rug instead of addressing the actual issue. What's the root cause of your alcoholism, man? That's why a lot of people can't heal from that. That's why a lot of people can't stop, because they don't even understand where it's coming from. They don't understand where that addiction came from, because we never get to the root of our problems. And alcoholism is just one of the problems that we don't get to the root of. Oh, Thunder, for sure. Especially amongst black men. Definitely like a badge of honor. That's why, like I said, people be surprised when I told them I don't drink, and I never had a drink. Never. People look at me like I'm crazy. People look at me like I'm an enigma, which I probably am, because I've never had a drink and I don't drink. And people look at me like I'm crazy out here. And that's the world that we living in. Classic Drip Rob, there you go. Keep it going. You only gonna get better from here, man. Let's go. Nigel, and that sadly enough, even when it hits the kidneys for most of them, they still don't wake up and realize the truth. They still overindulge in alcohol. I'm gonna die anyway. So they start living out that philosophy. So they gonna go out eating and drinking things that they like. That's how most of them go out. Oh, Thunder, for sure. I can definitely see that. Definitely. Fletcher, you say a 16-year-old alcohol. I know people that started earlier than that, like 14. I know people that got into the alcohol at 14, at 13. Man, listen, this is a problem. This is a problem, man. A lot of it stems from your upbringing, man. You probably was brought up amongst it. You was probably raised by alcoholics. So a lot of that stems from your upbringing. A lot of it. Oh, Chanel, Unresolved Conflicts. I was reading a book. What was it? The Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation, something like that. But I was reading a book, and they said that was really the number one cause of a lot of diseases. Now, I'm not saying I believe that and accept that it's true, but they said unresolved conflicts is one of the major causes of diseases. And that's something that they don't tell you when they out here evaluating your health and whatnot. They not telling you that an unresolved conflict is literally causing you to die. It is literally stressing you out to the point where your white blood cell count is low. Like, that's what it's doing. It's shrinking your thymus gland. It's killing your ability to fight off cancerous cells. Like, that's literally what's happening. When you fail to resolve trauma from your past, when you fail to resolve conflicts from your past, like, that's literally what's happening. It's shrinking your thymus gland, man. It's shrinking your ability. It's decreasing your ability to fight off cancer cells. That's literally what's happening every time you fail to get to the bottom of an issue. So that's why I say sweeping stuff under the rug does way more harm than good. It's literally something that's killing us. It's literally something that's weakening our immune system. It's literally something that's making it harder for us to fight off diseases and ailments. Like, that's literally what's happening every time you sweep something under the rug and fail to address it. That's literally what's happening. Vital talking points for sure. For sure. The real supreme justice. We definitely repeating the same cycle. Definitely. The cycle continues. They say the marathon continues, like the cycle continues. It continues because we failing to address these problems. We failing to address these problems. We failing to get to the root of these problems. And instead, we like to argue with one another. Instead, like I'm all about the solution. So I can only debate and argue for so long before I ask somebody, so what we gonna do about it? What's the solution? Like all of this all of this going back and forth, complaining, debating, arguing is cool, but what's the solution? And it's like the dysfunction amongst the black household. For one, I really don't like how they highlight that because all these ethnic groups deal with a lot of dysfunction. They just like to highlight the dysfunction that goes on in the black community. But to act like that dysfunction is not present would be crazy as well, because we already know it's a lot of dysfunction amongst the black man, black woman. We know that exists. But that's everywhere though. But we know we have our problems. But instead of us striving to get to the problems, we like to point the finger at the other. So I'm the black man, I want to point the finger at the black woman. If I'm the black woman, I want to point the finger at the black man. Whole while we not reaching any type of conclusion and we not offering any type of solution. That's another thing that we continue to sweep under the rug. We got to stop blaming one another. At the end of the day, I'm not about to sit here and blame anybody for my situation. I'm about to look at my role. If I'm not satisfied with how my life is turning out in all facets, I'm going to evaluate my role in the situation, my role in my condition, because I play a part in my condition. I play a part in how everything is unfolding in my life. Nikki, peace, what's happening? So I'm always evaluating my role. Lachelle, peace queen, what's happening? So it's the easiest thing to do is to blame somebody else. The easiest thing to do is to blame other people. That's the easiest thing to do, literally. If something is going wrong in your life, the easiest thing to do is for you to say, I blame this, I blame that, I blame this, I blame her, I blame him. That's the easiest thing to do instead of holding yourself accountable. So the easiest thing to do when it comes to these relationships is for you to blame the other sex. If you're a man, the easiest thing for you to do is to blame the women. If you are a woman, the easiest thing for you to do is to blame the men. That is the easiest thing to do. That's the easiest thing to do. Justin, peace, what's happening? That is the easiest route to take, for you to just blame them. Well, all these dudes, this, that, and the third. Well, all these women, this, that, and the third. We taking the easy route. We taking the easy route without offering any type of solution. We just taking that easy route, the blame game. Where is the blame game getting us? How is the blame game elevating our lives? It's not. It's not. How far has this blaming game gotten us? That's only adding on to the dysfunction. That's only making things worse. So the blame game has done absolutely nothing in regards to benefiting us as a race, as a people. Lindell, what's happening? So the blame game is pointless. It's not doing anything for us. We gonna sit around and blame, or we gonna deal with the solution? What are the solutions? Let's deal with the solutions instead of sitting around blaming everybody. Vital, not only do we recognize the problems, we dwell on the problems. We settle on the problems. As we say, we supposed to settle on the best part. We supposed to keep the best part preserved for self. We settle on the worst part. And that's the problem. We settle on the problem, which is the worst part. That's what we settle on. We don't settle on the solution. You supposed to keep that best part preserved for yourself. That's what you're supposed to do, and we don't do that. We look at the worst part and we settle on that worst part. And we wonder why everything unfolds according to that type of frequency and that vibe. Because we settling on that worst part. We settling on the negative. We settling on the most destructive part. We're not supposed to do that, man. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take the best part. Preserve that for yourself. The best part will be the solution. So if you settle on the solution, if you keep the solution preserved for self, then it becomes easier to execute and things of that nature. But we look at the problem and we want to bear hug that problem. We want to keep the problem close. That's not going to get us too far. That's not going to get us far at all. That's not going to get us far at all. But like I said, a lot of these things, we sweep certain things under the rug. Accountability is something that we tend to sweep under the rug. Instead of us looking at an issue and saying, all right, I played this role and that this was my part, We don't do that. We sweep it under the rug. We sweep it under the rug. We sweep our role in the destruction under the rug. If you was in a relationship and it went south and it was trash, then the first thing you gonna start doing is saying, well, this person was this way, this person was that way. You're gonna be looking at the other person that was involved and you about to blame it solely on that person instead of acknowledging your role in the failed relationship. Instead of acknowledging your role, you just about to blame. If you was a dude, you finna say, well, she didn't do this, and she didn't do that, and she didn't do this, and she didn't do that, and vice versa. If you are a woman, you're like, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Dudes ain't this, dudes ain't that. That's what we like to do. Well, what role did you play? How a whole relationship go trash and you was 100% great the whole entire time? You did nothing wrong. I find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe. Everybody is a good guy. Everybody is a good woman. Nobody is ever bad. Nobody has ever done anything that's negative. Nobody has ever done anything that's toxic. When things fail, it's always the other person. It's always the other person involved. So you ain't never did anything that's trash. You ain't never did anything that's destructive, negative, or toxic. Never. It's solely the other person. So you can't find no fault in why that relationship failed at all. Come on, man. Hold yourself accountable, man. This relationship failed. It took two people for it to fail. You played a role in it just like the other person played a role in it. Acknowledge your role and work on that. The things that you did to cause it to fail, acknowledge those things, man, and then focus on improving in those areas. Because I guarantee you, you played a role. It could be a small role, but you played it, though. It was a role. So we like to ignore our role when it comes to anything that has failed in our lives, failed relationships, failed partnerships, failed business endeavors, whatever it is that didn't go our way, we don't like to take accountability for it. We don't like to hold ourselves accountable for it not going our way, not turning out how we wanted it to turn out. Lindell, for sure. For sure. People only put you through what you allow them to put you through. Point blank, period. Redbird, peace, what's happening? What's happening with you? But people only put you through what you allow them to put you through. Point blank, period. You don't have to accept that mistreatment. You don't have to accept that toxicity. You don't have to accept that destruction. You don't have to accept that negativity. You don't. There is no gun to your head saying, I must accept this. I must accept this toxicity. I must accept this toxic environment. I must accept this negative treatment. There's nobody forcing you to accept it. Nothing. Nobody. All vital talking points for sure. We never get to the root cause. We just like to talk about things being toxic. Let's get to the root. And I'm one of the one like that. That's one thing I always talk about. When people start talking about whether they be in a relationship and be like, well, the relationship was toxic. The first thing I start trying to gather the history of the person. So let's just say you with a dude, right? Let's just say you're a woman and you with a dude, and you start talking about how toxic dude is. I start asking about his upbringing. I say, well, how was his upbringing? How is his parents? How did his parents treat him? Was his parents in his lives? Like, I start getting the whole history. So when I get the history of the person, it's like a background check. When I get the history to the person, when I do the knowledge to him, then I'm able to better understand why he is acting the way that he's acting. And a lot of times we don't do that. A lot of times we do not do that, man. It's like a background check, man. It's like gather the history. See how that person was brought up. See how that person was raised. Then you will have a better understanding of why they are acting the way that they are acting, instead of just beating them over the head. See, that's, again, we always got to strive for that understanding. We got to see why we acting the way that we act. We got to see why the person we with is acting the way that they act. We got to get to know people, man. Like I said, we skip that one. We skip the one, and one is that knowledge, man. We don't be getting to know people out here. We don't even be getting to know ourselves, man, let alone some other people. So if you don't know yourself, then, of course, obviously, you can't know anybody else. So we be skipping all steps, man. We be skipping. We deal with a lot of issues and we don't even know where they stem from because we fail to do the knowledge to ourselves. We fail to evaluate our history. We fail to deal with our trauma from the past. So if you don't have knowledge of yourself, how you think you got knowledge of somebody else? Like, it's that simple. It's that simple. Again, we skipping steps here. You cannot skip the math, man. Like I said, everybody deals with mathematics and you cannot skip the math. You have got to have, once you get that knowledge of yourself, from the relationship standpoint, I got knowledge of myself. I done dealt with all my trauma from the past, man. I done resolved my conflicts from the past. I'm with somebody else. Let me do the knowledge to them, though. Let me do the knowledge to their history. Yeah, she got an attitude, but it's like, why does she have this attitude? Let me do the knowledge to it. Let me see if I can gain an understanding as to why she is the way that she is, instead of me just basically judging her. Nah, let me see if I can do the knowledge of her history and gain an understanding. Maybe she was brought up a certain type of way, and that's what led to this attitude, because more than enough times when you evaluate their history, you're going to gain an understanding as to why they are the way that they are. And then once you gain that understanding, after the evaluation, then you can make your decision. It's like, all right, he got these type of problems. I evaluated the history. I see where a lot of it stems from. It's worth it to build with this person, because I feel like we can grow together. We can heal together because we done been through similar things. Whatever the case may be, you can reach a decision based off of that evaluation. But if you fail to do the evaluation, then you just going to be caught off guard by a lot of the toxic actions, toxic ways and actions. Evaluate the history first, man. See how the upbringing was, man. See how the parents was, man. Get around the parents, man. If the parents in their lives, man, evaluate them. Do the knowledge, man. Observe, look, listen, analyze. We just be jumping right in relationships, man, and then we think we in love a week after we done jumped into the relationship. Alonzo, peace, what's happening? King Me, peace, God, most definitely. Miss Donnie, and that's exactly what we supposed to do. And for the most part, we don't do it, and we wonder why things don't go our way. And the reason why a lot of people, and this is the reason, going back to sweeping things under the rug, the reason why a lot of us don't like to have these conversations before we enter relationships is because we running from our problems. So the last thing we want to do is talk about our problems with somebody we about to get into a relationship with, because we've been running from the problems. So we haven't dealt with the problems. We haven't faced the problems. So the last thing we want to do is talk about it. And that right there is a problem. But if you haven't faced your problems, if you've been running from your problems, then you're not about to want to talk about those problems. So that's why we got to stop sweeping things under the rug, man. We got to start addressing these problems head on. Head on. Miss Donnie, I'm telling you, the moment you stop sweeping the stuff under the rug, man, listen, it's almost like cleaning the crib. Is your crib really clean if you sweeping stuff under the rug, throwing a bunch of the trash under the bed, stuff in the closets? Like, is your crib really clean? No. Man, you gotta, listen, you gotta throw some of that stuff away, man. You gotta throw some of that stuff away, man. You gotta donate some of them clothes. Get some of them clothes away. You think you just stuffing these closets, throwing all the stuff under the bed, sweeping the stuff. Nah, your house is still dirty. It's still dirty. And you gotta throw some of that stuff away. You gotta throw some of that stuff away. You gotta stop being lazy. You gotta face these problems, man. You gotta take out that trash. Don't sweep the trash under the rug. You gotta take the trash out. You gotta sweep that stuff in that dustpan. Throw it into that trash. And then you gotta throw that trash out. That's the process. You sweep it under the rug. No, that's not getting rid of the trash. The trash is still in the house. That's not getting rid of the trash at all. When you throw it under the bed, it's still in the house. It's still in the house. You still got clutter when you are stuffing your closets, to where when you open the closet, all the stuff falls out. You still have the clutter. Your house is still a mess. Stop trying to give off this illusion that my house is clean when it's not. You just swept everything under the rug, stuffed the closet, threw everything under the bed. Your house is still a mess. You're just trying to give off this illusion that it's not. Centuries, what's happening? So we got to stop doing that, man. Got to stop doing that. When you sweep stuff under the rug at your crib, no, you're not cleaning the crib. That is not what cleaning the crib means. That's not what cleaning your house means. Sweeping stuff under the rug. That's not what that is. That's not what it is. Hey, Alonzo, you already know what it is, my brother. You already know. Redbird, I'm already knowing, man. Y'all know my story, man. I told y'all about a situation like that, man. I forgot what stream it was. It was some months ago. I talked about somebody that I was with way back in the day was basically trying to get me to get upset because she did not believe that I could get upset because of my cool demeanor at the time. So the fact that I was so cool and kind of at peace didn't sit well with her. So she was striving to go out of her way to get a certain reaction out of me. And it's like, man, you can't be with nobody like that, man. You can't be with anybody like that. That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous, man. Somebody striving to intentionally make you upset. I'm not finna deal with that. And I literally know, like we can't make this up, but I literally know people that thrive off of toxicity in relationships. Like literally. They literally believe that arguing and things like that keeps the relationship spicy. Like I literally have heard people talk about this. So this ain't something I'm just making up. People have literally said these things to me. So I'm like, wow. So like people actually do this. People actually start arguments on purpose because they believe this is what keeps the relationship spicy. So this is legit a thing. Like I was naive for a minute and didn't believe that. I'm like, nah, man, it ain't nobody that ignorant to where they actually striving to start arguments on purpose just so they can keep the relationship spicy. It can't be. I was like, it can't be anybody. It can't be nobody out here that ignorant, man. It can't be nobody out here that's that toxic. I was naive for a long time. But nah, that's a reality out here. That's a reality out here. The simple fact that you're not striving to argue is enough to make somebody mad. It's like, really? Like you mad because I'm like, I ain't really trying to argue right now. So you striving to get a reaction out of the kid. Yeah, Miss Donnie, and it's all about, that's what it is. It's all about the understanding. And a lot of our problems stems from the lack of understanding. Lack of understanding. But again, understanding is a two-way street. When I'm striving to gain an understanding and you not striving to gain an understanding, again, it's math. Like the understanding will never be understood. If I'm the only one striving to gain an understanding and you not striving to understand anything on my side, then it's not going to work. So both parties have to be striving to gain that understanding. And that's where the conflict and that's where the tension starts or stems from. You will have one party striving to gain an understanding, but the other party just straight ignorant. So understanding ain't nowhere near a one-way street, man. We both got to be striving to gain an understanding. So that's why if you in a situation and the other party not striving to gain an understanding, it's like you might as well just shut off. Like, nope, not entertaining this conversation because you not striving to understand where I'm coming from. I'm striving to understand where you coming from, but you not trying to reciprocate that. So I'm just going to leave this conversation until you get your head together and you at least try to see where I'm coming from. If you're not striving to see where I'm coming from, I'm going to politely exit that conversation. Because I need for you to gain that understanding. These still 94 for sure, man. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I ain't even gonna lie. People's attention span is trash. The attention span of the average person is garbage. You can't even have a productive conversation with people out here without them picking up their phone. Santriez for sure, man. Like I said, it's people out here with a mission to disturb your peace. It's people out here, they on a mission to disturb your peace. They on a mission to see who can they disturb out here. Who can they knock off their square out here? Original One Piece, what's happening? Redbird for sure, man. That's all we need, man. That's all we need is that understanding. Like I said, got to make the understanding understood. And in order for the understanding to be understood, both parties got to be willing to understand the other party. And again, people got to understand what understanding means. Understanding doesn't mean that I'm just about to agree with what you're saying. Understanding means that I see exactly where you're coming from. And then we reach a conclusion based off of that understanding. The understanding can be that we're not meant to be together. You know, so that's all understanding is. I'm listening to what you're telling me. And instead of me judging you, I'm just letting it marinate. I'm letting it marinate. Whatever it is you told me, I'm listening. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm just evaluating, I'm examining, I'm analyzing, I'm observing, I'm doing all of this, man. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm not judging you. I'm listening to what you're telling me. I'm seeing things for what they are, not what I want them to be. Like my cup is empty. So everything that you're telling me, man, I'm letting it marinate. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm trying to see the things through your lens and whatnot. This is what I'm striving to do. And at the end of the day, when we get that understanding and all right, we reach that conclusion like, hey, I listen to you. I don't feel like we on the same page. I don't feel like we in the same book. So I think it's best for us to go our separate ways based on the understanding that we both have. Like that's when you able to make those type of decisions. Airview, what's happening? That's when you able to make those type of decisions. But what tends to happen is you got the one reasonable person in a relationship, you got the one reasonable person saying, all right, man, I don't really, either they be like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and they giving logic behind why they think it's not gonna work. But the other person is so oblivious and so ignorant that they striving to force things to stay together because they not emptying the cup. And they not striving to understand what's really happening. They not striving to understand where these problems are stemming from. So they trying to force something to work that wasn't meant to be. But when you got one reasonable person, like it's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work. For the most part, what I've witnessed is that reasonable person ends up compromising most of the time. So that reasonable person ends up allowing themselves to stay within a relationship because of the other person. Kind of convincing them, or they just like, man, I don't feel like dealing with the toxicity that's gonna stem from me trying to walk away from this situation. So you know what? I just stay around, see where this go. I literally watched a reasonable person stick around when they know good and well in their mind, they head, they're like, nah, this ain't that, this ain't it, this ain't gonna work. Yeah, Landell, that agree to disagree mentality, man, the world would be a better place if a lot of people understood that type of mentality and possessed it. A lot of people don't understand what it means to agree to disagree. They're not able to do that. It's cool to be able to say, listen, I hear what you're saying, but we agree to disagree. It's cool to end on that note, man. It's cool. Vital talking points for sure, man. Agreeing to disagree is powerful. It's powerful. Like, yeah, we just don't see eye to eye. Like that's a very we just don't see eye to eye, man. I hear you. I see where you coming from, but I still don't see it this way. I still don't see it that way. We don't see eye to eye on this, so this may not work. So let's go ahead and go our separate ways. Peaceful, cordial. Listen. Relationships don't always have to end on a negative note, man. Things can end in a peaceful manner, man. Things don't always have to end in that destructive manner. Things can end on a peaceful note. Like they literally can do that. You got to drop the ego. You got to drop the pride, man. Just listen, I don't care how many years you invested in a relationship. Don't look at it as a waste of time. Yeah, if you've been talking to somebody for 5 to 10 years, whatever, however long, and you wake up one day and like, man, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is working. Don't look at it like, man, I've been with you for 10 years, man, we going to make this work. No, never try to force anything. Only thing gets met with that force is resistance. And I don't care how long, man, y'all don't understand. The only thing constant is change. It's the only thing that's constant is change. So you can be with somebody for 10 years and they wake up in year 10 and all of a sudden they possess a different mentality. That can happen. That can happen. People are subject to change. People are subject to grow apart from one another. And there's no time frame on that. We can grow apart from one another 20 years from now. It's no time frame for that. But the last thing you want to try to do is force something. It's the last thing you want to try to do. That's the last thing you want to try to do. Or Jizzy, peace, what's happening? Ms. Donnie, for sure. It's very annoying. And that's when you just got to give ultimatums and you just got to make decisions that's best for you at that particular point. See, at that point, That's when you just got to get selfish. When the other person ain't willing to work with you, now it's time to become selfish. It's like, all right, I tried it this way. You wasn't willing to work with me. Now it's time for me to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to prioritize my peace, my sanity, my happiness, all that good stuff. So I tried to work with you. Now I'm going to do what it is that I know I need to do. That's when you become selfish. Thunder, man, a lot of people do not understand that. Just because I disagree don't mean we, for one, got to argue, got to debate, we got to fight. I simply disagree with what it is that you're saying. I disagree with your perspective. I disagree with where you think this is going. And we just keep it moving. Agree to disagree. Thunder, man, getting their feelings all the time, whether it's grown men, whether it's grown women. People cannot handle people disagreeing with them. They can't handle it, man. Can't handle it. They can't handle the truth, and they can't handle when people disagree with them. Oh, vital for sure. And listen, when it comes to, because a lot of times when we dealing with relationships, man, that's a thin line when it comes to facts in regards to relationships. Because for the most part, you're gonna be operating based on feelings as well. Like y'all may just be feeling two totally different ways in regards to the relationships, and y'all gotta address that. Y'all gotta address that, man. If y'all got two different visions for this relationship, man, y'all gotta address that. Y'all gotta lay down y'all priorities. If y'all priorities ain't aligning, then y'all gotta address that. Y'all gotta address that. Hey, I prioritize A, B, and C. You prioritizing D, E, and F. It's not lining up. Oh yeah, D still for sure. And y'all, man, I was getting warmed up. I was getting warmed up, but I had a client that just pulled up, y'all. So I'm gonna tap in with y'all. I'm gonna tap in a little bit later so we can continue this conversation. So y'all be easy, man. I'm gonna tap in with y'all probably in another few hours or so, man. I got more to say, but y'all be easy out here, man. I'm gonna tap in with y'all a few hours from now, man. So stay tuned. Peace.